Welcome to another episode of the Byline Breakdown, the podcast where we go behind the headlines with the reporters of the Business Journal to talk about how they come up with their stories, the process that they take, and find out the stories behind the stories. I'm your host, Mike Moliterno, and today we are talking for the first time on the podcast with reporter Denise Dick, who covers our education beat. So thank you for being here, Denise.
Thanks for having me.
You're fairly new to the Business Journal, but you
am.
are a seasoned veteran reporter, and you've covered education for quite a few years.
Yes, I did. I covered education for about 6 years at my previous newspaper employer.
You can say the name.
The Vindicator.
Okay.
The old Vindicator, the former
Right.
Vindicator.
So, what is there to talk about regarding education going on right now?
Well, what is there to talk about?
I don't know.
Jeez, I
Anyway,
don't know.
so I think there's something going on at YSU. At least it's been keeping us quite busy.
Yes, it has.
I check my email, and almost without fail, every time I check my email, something is going on. Could you just, I guess, briefly set the scene, let us know what's going on at YSU? What is causing all of the news?
Well, on November 16th, I believe it was, the YSU Board of Trustees called an emergency meeting. And it's been, they've been looking for a new president for a while. Jim Tressel resigned, I believe it was in February. So shortly thereafter, they started a search. And they have an interim president who's been there since his resignation, Helen Lafferty. And so on November 16th, they had, like I said, an emergency meeting. And they had called it in, convened the meeting, went into executive session, and when they came out, they announced that Bill Johnson, they were going to begin negotiations with Bill for Bill Johnson to be the new president. He's, in case anybody doesn't know, he's a congressman.
He's our congressman.
He's our congressman, yes, since 2010 has been representing part of the Valley.
Right. Now, just to clarify, so emergency meeting,
Yes.
I believe Chairman Michael Peterson yesterday released a statement kind of clarifying what emergency meeting means. And just for clarity's sake, I think he said that if they call a meeting with less than 48 hours notice,
Yes.
it has to be designated. It's a rule.
Correct.
It has to be called an emergency meeting.
Correct. That
And
is what
I
he's
think
contending.
And he said that the part of the reason they did that was because
One of the finalists' identities had gotten out.
yes, so
yes.
they wanted to conduct the meeting to kind of get ahead of
Right.
whatever
right.
was going to
That's
come
what the
out.
statement said. Correct. So they had that meeting, and it was an 8-1 vote. Molly Seals, she's a retired hospital administrator. She was the only one who voted no, and she's not wanted to discuss her reasoning, other than she said she didn't think he was the right person for the position. Then, because they had to negotiate with Congressman Johnson, on November 21st, they had a special meeting, and by the same vote, with the same person voting no, Molly Seals, they approved a contract for Congressman Johnson. He would start mid-March, and he'd be the 10th YSU president.
Now, at this time, he hasn't officially resigned from Congress.
Correct. He said he would do that within the first quarter of next year, 2024.
There have been no indications that this is not going to happen.
Correct.
So as of now, it looks like he is going to be the 10th president
Yes.
of YSU.
Right.
We're going to talk about some of the latest developments regarding business people possibly pulling support from the university as a result of the presidential selection process after this quick break.
Attention all business enthusiasts in Northeast Ohio and Western Pennsylvania. The Business Journal has been your trusted partner since 1984, giving insights, updates, and fostering growth in your region. From Mahoning to Mercer, from Columbiana to Lawrence, we've got you covered. For just $10 a month or $99 a year, unlock our digital troves, or get both print and digital for only $99 a year. Make the smart business choice. Subscribe now.
Could you talk about just what we just learned prior to sitting down here?
Well, Bruce Zoldan, he has donated $5 million for a Zoldan Family Center at YSU. That was done in January. And he also, in 2020, donated $1 million for student scholarships and a mentorship program. So fair to say, a major donor. And he told us yesterday that he is considering, he's not going to take back the money,
Right.
but he's considering not having his family name on the center because he doesn't like the way this was done. Mm-hmm. And he says that it should have been more public like it had been done in previous searches. So, and then we also have learned that Ed Moransky, who's also given money to the university, is the chairman of the YSU Foundation, which is the fundraising arm. It's an independent organization, but it's kind of the fundraising arm for the university. And he's stepped down from that organization.
as a result of this search?
Well, that's not been said
I know you
directly.
have to dig into that.
Right.
Yeah.
I've not spoken to him.
Right.
But that, and I've heard conflicting things about what is being said about why, but it happened at a meeting where they met to discuss and come up with a statement that they issued yesterday about them not being happy with the way the search was done. They wanted it to be more inclusive, and that they were getting calls from alumni and donors questioning whether they would continue to donate moving forward.
And that was kind of unexpected.
That the
YSU Foundation would come out with a statement.
Yes.
And I guess when this whole thing happened, there was all this talk of people saying, don't donate to the university. I kind of was unsure if that was actually going to have any teeth.
Yeah,
and it appears, at least
to
the
some
YSU
degree,
Foundation is saying that is actually occurring.
Right. Right after the vote on the 21st, the 5 alumni recent alumni who had organized a petition in opposition to the way it was done, and also some concerns about Mr. Johnson's political views, some of his political statements. They urged people to withhold financial support and any other material support for YSU while this is because of the way that all happened. And those alumni include the only Rhodes Scholar from YSU, and I think there are 5 of them altogether. So, and that group is still planning to attend the regular meeting on the 7th, and continue to voice opposition.
And do you know anything about what's going to occur at the meeting on the 7th?
Well, that's their regular meeting.
Right.
It's not specific to the Johnson thing. Is the vote is done. I mean, unless they would do something else, and I don't know what that would be. But it's just their regular. They have their full day of committee meetings on the day before, and then on the 7th is the regular meeting where they approve what was approved by the committees on the previous day.
Yeah.
So that's a quarter. They have meetings quarterly.
There have been some people who have brought up concerns about Johnson's political beliefs.
Right.
But I think a lot of these substantial developments, the people who have been withdrawing support or resigning or whatever, those people have gone out of their way to say this has nothing to do with Bill Johnson as a person or as a politician at all, that it's purely about the process. And I think even A.J. Summel, who I think represents the faculty union.
He's a chief negotiator.
Yeah. It went out of his way to also say that it's not about Johnson or his political beliefs, it's about the process. Could you talk a little bit about how this process was different, what's different about it, and I guess what the trustees' explanation for the change in the process was?
Right. So in previous searches, at least the last couple, they've had, it's been more open. They've released the names of people. I mean, when I would make a request for them, I would get the names of all applicants if I wanted it in my previous position. And this time that didn't happen. And also when in the previous searches, the finalists came to campus openly. I mean, everyone knew they were coming.
Right.
And there were like forums. So they could give.
I covered several of them.
So they could give their spiel about what they, their background, what they want to do for the university, their vision, and people could ask questions. Well, that didn't happen this time. They found out, there was an announcement of a meeting, actually 3 meetings, on I forget, in October, that were going to be off campus, and it said that it was going to be the standard thing that they use for personnel when they're hiring or whatever, but it didn't specifically say for president. It said future state of YSU or something, because when you have a special meeting, which technically those were because they're not regular, you have to say the purpose of the meeting. So it said future state of YSU, and then it listed the thing that they vote on, the motion that they vote on whenever they're doing anything pertaining to personnel, like hiring, discipline, demotion, promotion, compensation, yada, 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 the whole spiel. So that was in there, but it did not specifically say president.
Right.
So when the vote happened on the 16th, people weren't expecting it. They didn't realize that, at least from what I've been told. I mean, I wasn't expecting it.
It was kind of a shock.
It was a shock.
Yeah.
So it
was a surprise.
Right. It wasn't. There had been an email the week before, I believe, saying that the search is moving forward, but it didn't go into great detail. So people were surprised by that, and then they still have not said who the other finalists are. And
right.
in the past, everybody knew who they were. And
we submitted a public records request.
Yes, which was denied. They say they don't have them. You're not required to give a record if you don't have it. and they used a search firm for the searches, and in the past they have as well. That's not new to use a search firm, but the not new part was they were told, according to what the university has said, that trustees were advised by the search firm that the best way to get the best candidates is to have a confidential search, because if it's open, it deters the best candidates from applying, because if they don't get it, they've got to go back to their jobs, and there's that awkwardness. So that's where that is.
So the search landed on Bill Johnson.
Correct.
I think what I've heard, one of the sticking points, or one of the gripes, I guess, that people have with the selection is that Bill Johnson has no experience in education.
Correct.
He has a lot of professional business experience. Right. Obviously, he's a congressman, been a congressman for 12 years, 12 plus years, but no experience in education.
Right.
We're told that the two other finalists have experience in education, but again, we can't confirm that because we don't know who they are.
Yeah.
So I guess, what is the main issue that you're hearing that people have with the selection of Congressman Johnson? Well,
it varies depending on who you talk to. First, the process, as was already discussed. Some people don't like his politics. Has some views that could be considered divisive, and there have been international students on campus who have issue with some of the things he said about immigrants. And then their LGBTQ community has some issues about things he said about gay marriage. But also, and then of course the people.
He's one of the people who denied the results of the 2020 election. Also,
correct. He's been a proponent. He's been a backer of President Trump, former President Trump. That's right. He's even endorsed him for 2024. Yes.
In saying that Joe Biden stole the election,
or he. Yes, I don't know if he's used those words specifically, but yeah, that's been the gist. Yes.
I just mean he's not a.
Election
he is a
denier.
Trump supporter, yes, but he is an election denier. I was trying to be a little more specific.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Okay.
He has denied the results of the 2020 election. At that time, I don't know if he's held to that sense. I don't know if he's spoken to it specifically. But yes, that's been part of it. And also, faculty have mentioned his lack of higher education experience. They would like somebody who, prior to Jim Tressel, who didn't have a doctorate and who had worked in higher ed.
He had worked in education, yeah.
He'd been not just a football coach, but he worked at the University of Akron for a couple years, and I think he was a vice president of, I don't remember his title specifically, but he was a vice president there. But Bill Johnson has never worked at a university campus before, and so there's concern about that. Now, the proponents
at the time,
of the hire,
I remember a few people raising issues with Jim Tressel about that, and also that he didn't have a master's degree, I think.
He has a master's, he doesn't have a doctorate.
Or he didn't have a doctorate, yeah. I remember some people raising some concerns about that. Yeah.
And Congressman Johnson also has a master's degree. But the other side of that is they say, well, that's not really, you have somebody to do that. You have a provost who handles academics. So that's not really a valid argument. That's what that wing does. The president is left to do things like fundraising and, getting community support and things like that. So that's the other side of that argument.
This is changing every single day, and you've been
there's developments every single day. I wouldn't say that it's changing.
Yes, there are developments. There are new developments every single day, and you've been doing a fantastic job covering it. This all happened right as this happened the week that we all expected no news to happen, the week of Thanksgiving, which is typically a very slow week for us. And we were all kind of settling in to catch up on some stuff. And then we've been running around like crazy ever since. I guess, what are you hearing as far as from the people you're talking to? Where do you see this going? How do you see this playing out?
I don't know. I don't have any reason to believe that they're going to make any changes. I've not seen any indications to that effect. So, time will tell.
Well, Denise, thank you very much for talking about this with us today. And please keep checking back to businessjournaldaily.com every single day, because we have multiple updates usually every single day regarding this story, multiple developments. And Denise is doing a great job covering it. So
thank you.
Make sure you read all of her coverage. Thank you very much, Denise.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We'll be back next Thursday with another episode of the Byline Breakdown. I'm Mike Moliterno.
You wouldn't drive a car without a map, so why navigate the business world of northeastern Ohio and western Pennsylvania without the Business Journal? Trusted since 1984, we're the compass pointing you to growth and prosperity. Digital, print, why not both? We've got subscription options tailored for every business-savvy individual. Light up your path to success. Subscribe to the Business Journal today.